Hello and welcome back to my channel. This video is going to be a little bit more personal than some of my other videos I came out with, because in this shower thoughts video it's going to be about how I took reasonable steps to overcome some of my dependency or my habit towards retail therapy. Now, at the time this behavior was at its peak, it was directly linked with my other habit of emotional eating. And these habits really reared their ugly head back in my college days around the late 2010s, because for $10, $15, $20, I could buy all kinds of, little snacks and goodies and things like that. And yes, I'm sure it was a lot of money when you add it all up. And no, I would never want to know. But it was done all in the pursuit to make myself feel better. So honestly, it was priceless. But I will say the worst part about these behaviors, the shopping and the emotional eating, was that they were both done out of shame. I didn't want to be vulnerable with the people I was living with or the people that I knew, because I didn't have to be when there was a plate of pizza rolls and a pint of ice cream that I could confide in. And yes, I had friends, those that I lived with, and other people outside of my apartment, but I felt like there was just certain things, like certain issues, that I feel like they either couldn't understand or wouldn't want to deal with. And on top of that, I felt like I had nothing to give in return for other people listening to my problems. Not that I didn't share at all, but there was a lot of guarding happening at the same time. What I mean when I say give or give back in return, like if you know a baker, they either bake because that's their job or because they're stressed out. And at least for the person that's stressed out, if they come to you with a problem, you're at least going to get a nice focaccia roll. Focaccia roll? I don't think they call focaccia rolls, right? Anyways, you're going to at least get a nice piece of bread out of the exchange. I, on the other hand, could not provide any of the sort. So I didn't really, it almost didn't feel right to burden other people with my problems, even though my problems were very apparent at the time that they were already being burdened by. So it was a lose-lose situation for everybody. And on top of those things, I also feel like I suffered from this middle-class depression fallacy where I feel like I had no reason to complain, even though I knew what was happening inside my head wasn't peachy keen either. So all those elements coalesced into me buying things to help me feel better. So how did I start on this long journey of trying to overcome the shopping habit? Well, I was on my way to Walgreens, and I think this was in either 2017 or 2018. And as I was shopping, I got my usual snacks. That part didn't change. But what did change was when I bought a non-edible item, which that doesn't sound like a big deal. And it probably wasn't. But when I was in that mode to go shopping for my food, I was in the emotional eating mode. That's where I was. So it was typical to just buy food and then leave. So at the time, when I bought that cleanser or soap or whatever it was, I just did it because it was a random thought that kind of popped into my head. I'm like, what if I just bought this as well as my other stuff? And it felt different. It felt a little strange, but it felt good knowing that I bought something with my how many dollars I spent, and at least a few of those dollars were going to go a long way and serve a purpose and be functional. And another aspect of overcoming the shopping habit, also, these are not real glasses. These are those fake blue light blocking glasses, whatever. I just like the way how they look with them on, so that's why I'm wearing them. Along the journey of trying to overcome my shopping habit came with a lot of self-assessment, of a lot of tears, and a lot of apologies. Because when I was in that swirl of just confusion, I wasn't being honest with myself. I just wasn't. And when you're not honest with yourself, it's hard It's not impossible, but it's hard to be honest with the other people around you. When you're not able to be honest with yourself, it just creates more confusion than is necessary, and that part can be difficult to deal with. So it took a while to try to figure out why I was doing the things that I was doing. And along with all those other things, as I already mentioned, I also had to relinquish the idea that I knew what was best. Because when you have a coping mechanism, you do it because you know it works. And in order to be honest with myself and exploring the extent of my problems, I had to relinquish this very fragile ego of knowing what was best for me. So how did my shopping habit change? Over time, my habit for just buying food, especially in that emotional state, turned into buying things. Not completely, but it was equal parts food and things. Sometimes things more than food, and sometimes food more than things. But I was trying to achieve some type of balance there, if you could call it that. But that became an issue because I started running out of space to hold all my things. In the apartment that I used to share, any available horizontal surface had stuff just piled on top of it. And it didn't matter what it was, if it went together, if there was a flat surface, I was putting stuff on it. And at first I was like, well, it's just because it's just because I share an apartment, so of course space is going to be an issue. But then when I moved out of that apartment and into this room, I realized, no, I just have too much stuff and I can't keep track of everything, and everything is everywhere. I have to walk around like it's whack-a-mole just to get to my bed. And that felt kind of not that great. So then I had to, over time, implement a system where I would scrutinize like everything that I've owned. So then I had to ask myself questions like, well, what is this for? Because if I bought something that was meant to fix something, if it's still a problem, then that means the thing that I bought didn't work and therefore I don't need it. Or conversely, if it does fix the problem, then I get to keep that item. Other questions like, why did I buy this? Because if I bought it with an express purpose, then I get to keep it. But if I bought it because it was on trend, or I remembered someone talking about it, or if it looked really colorful and just delightful to look at, or it seemed like a good idea, those were all signals to me that that was not going to work out. So then I need to put it back as much as it would pain me to. Another question I have to ask myself is, how many times have I used this? Now this question mostly applies to like hair care, some skincare, and clothes. I'm really bad with this with clothes. Living in the state that I do, it's summer, rain, cold, summer. So there's some things I have where I'm like, oh my gosh, like this sweater is perfect. I love it. Especially when I was living in the Bay Area, sweaters, long sleeve tees, and all that kind of stuff were great. It was purposeful. I moved out of the Bay Area. I did not necessarily have a need for all the jackets and sweaters and long sleeves and thermals and all that kinds of stuff. So then it was just, piling up. So then I had to get real with some of the items, either sell them or donate them, which gave me some space back. But clothing is still a little bit of like a sore spot for me, because there's some stuff that I have that I really don't ever want to get rid of, but I've worn literally only once. So I'm a little rusty with my own rules and my own questions that I'm supposed to ask myself. And the last question that I like to ask myself is, do I still like this? And I like that question because it kind of brings back some of the humanity into the process of getting rid of items or keeping certain things. And I feel like it just puts my personality and ownership back into the decision-making process, so that when I do make a decision, whether it's to get rid of something or to keep something, it's more closely in line with my wants and my values, and therefore I'm likely going to take care of it better than if I just did everything with black and white thinking and was left with nothing. Well, This was a pretty personal video. I think it was nice, at least for me, to think about some of the changes that I've made over time, because it does solidify the fact that I can improve and I can change. I just need to make small, consistent changes in order to achieve whatever goals that I have. And if any of this has resonated with you, then I hope you know too that you can make changes, whether it be big or small. And as a matter of fact, for all the changes that I've made, at least discussed in this video, were a series of very small changes. So take that for what it's worth. Well, thank you for watching my video. That was very kind of you. And I hope to see you again. Thanks.